over the moon.
Welcome to the Landing Strip with Nick Lynham and Mikey Garcia, presented by From Financial.
Welcome back to the Landing Strip, where I guess I'll get the good news out of the way here early, because despite the good result for the Tank, I'm going to be honest. If you don't want to hear bad things about the Winnipeg Jets, tonight might not be your night to listen, because I am freaking hot about what we saw tonight, and we're going to get into it. But let's start off with some good news before I rant and rave. The first official down the stretch Tank version of the Landing Strip, where your boy is cancer-free.
Hey,
pretty good news this week. I've entered the survivorship program, so I'll have to get monitored for the next 3 to 5 years, see if anything comes up. It was a damn good thing. I had that last surgery. Definitely huge there. But let's get into these frickin' losers, because there's a lot to talk about. This game was absolutely embarrassing, top down, for this Winnipeg Jets org. Great for our intentions. The fact we get here together all the time and cheer for this result says everything about where the Winnipeg Jets are as a franchise right now. It says everything. This team is out here flaunting the idea that they're right in the mix for a playoff spot, which we've been downplaying. We've said it's not true. It isn't true. They leave this game. Great news, folks. Here's some more good news for you. And I appreciate all the congrats in the chat. You guys and gals rock. Here's the good news. After that loss, 6-1 throttling to the Boston Bruins. 6-1 throttling. Playoff odds, 4%. 4%. Don't even have a 1 in 20 chance of making it at this point in time. Number one draft pick odds, though, thanks to the old hockeystats.com, 7%. We're at that point, and we've been at that point for a while here, where the draft lottery and actually getting talent has a lot more chances of happening than this team going on some miracle run. And anyone that still believes it after watching tonight's game, I need you to wake up and collectively smell the roses about what's happening here. Because it's not even just about this year. When you see something like we watched tonight, we'll get into it as we get into the Tank Commander stuff, because there's a lot of people that could be named here. But I don't do this show alone. Mikey, how are you doing tonight? You might have to be the good cop tonight, buddy.
Oh, no, I'm feeling great tonight, actually, after that Winnipeg Jets game. To be honest, I'm feeling pretty good. And as the chat is absolutely screaming for, let's clear our lungs, let's kick back, let's sing our song.
Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop. It'll soon be here.
Yes, it will soon be here, and it's going to be here way sooner than we even realize right now. The Winnipeg Jets, that's the game that you saw tonight. That's the playoff push, apparently, that we were told about. That was, that's again not going to be the recipe, as we've heard quite a bit over the season.
That's not the recipe, you say?
It's not the recipe, no.
Shocking to watch a team get beat in every board battle. Puck touches.
Yep.
Net front.
Yep.
What is it? 4 of the 6 come within 10 feet of the goal today? It's
yes.
not hard. It's not easy to win games when your goalie's letting in a softie or two.
Minimum.
I'll be looking forward to May 5th. We'll be doing a live stream or a live show. I don't know. Me and Mikey were talking about this. If you're interested in actually getting together at a local establishment to watch the draft lottery odds, maybe we could put something together. You guys let us know. If not, we'll be live streaming for sure. But, Mikey, on this night, on this glorious tanking night, who is your tank commander?
This one was real easy for me. It's got to be the former first-round pick, Mr. Hayden Fleury. I know he's coming off such an incredible run of games recently. We thought the offensive revolution was here. We thought this was going to be the beginning of his Erik Karlsson, second half of his career. But unfortunately, I don't think it played out that way, especially tonight. on the ice for, I think, 3 or 4 of the goals, benched for the entire third period. He's inherited the Luke Shen, I can only play 2 periods because I'm that bad title. So I'm going to give it up to number 24, Mr. Hayden Fleury.
It sounds like you're Scott Arniel.
Hey, look, I'm Hayden Fleury's biggest fan.
Over in the chat, it's been a common name, and you can see why. Zero Ghost 8 says the tank commander is Connor 786 Hellebuck. That's a tough number. Rylan Medwick also says 787 Heart-winning gold medalist Connor Hellebuck. Real DFV's tank commander is among the bench full of I can't read today, I'm so hot. Among the bench full of cardboard cutout candidates, Hellebuck was still the most qualified by a fair margin. Get effect, Winnipeg says KC is his jet tank commander.
Yep.
Rihanna's, my tank commanders are Arniel, Hallie, Casey, Fleury, the top line minus Velarde. The IFL version was god-awful today. We'll get into that.
Yep.
Infinity comments, tank commander is Arniel, but lots of choices. A lot of people looking for a meetup, so maybe we'll get on that and get that going.
Excellent.
Hawks just beat the Wild. Thank you, Wara33. So they're going to gain 2 points on us.
Beautiful.
That's nice. It's looking like 4-6 here, folks.
Yep.
Would be my bet leaving today. We're going to be somewhere in the 4-6 range in the lottery odds. Al Camino says on the Fleury topic, how Hayden Fleury turned 2 good games in the playoffs into a 2-year contract is kind of impressive. He definitely stole the bag and got himself some job security, especially on this team. Pomerlane's tank commander was the top line, a combined -9 tonight. Rylan Medwick says Casey is a damn close second for his tank commander. Frosty Winnipeg's tank commander, the boards of TD Center. so some bounces out there.
Yep.
Jets didn't win a lot of the battles along those boards either.
No.
Let's go into it. Rain 204's tank commander is Arniel and his 2 sons. Let's get into it. My tank commander can go to a lot of people tonight. A lot of people. Hellebuck on the short list. That guy's tanking the year at this point. Keep running him.
Mm-hmm.
This is good for the brand. Though I'm starting to wonder a lot about the conversations we've had about, are we seeing the end stretch of him in Winnipeg? Watching this?
Yep.
This is getting pretty tough. Kyle Connor, what a turnover to David Pasternak to start this one off. That backhand flip shit in his own zone to get the other team on the board. Absolutely incredible stuff. Shout out, you know what? Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, -3 at 5-on-5, and somehow are the only group in the forwards that don't get split up.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing really going on here. Nothing going on in Winnipeg.
You know, we keep thinking it's that Connor and Scheifele want to play together, and that's the reason. Have we considered that just no one else wants to be on that line? And Iafallo and Velarde are the 2 nicest guys who just are like, fine, we'll take the bullet each time, and everybody else is just like, nah, we don't want to be over there.
Well, this is it. Shout out Hayden Fleury in this tank commander conversation. We've talked about it. He's just not a very good NHL defenseman.
Yeah.
He isn't. We know this. And this is where Scott Arniel comes in. This team is run by a bunch of cowards. Let's just call it for what it is. Scott Arniel, the brave soldier. I've protected the guy more than enough when you've wanted to go off.
Yep.
What a brave soldier Scott Arniel is tonight. He finally pulls out the benching card. And it's on the worst player on the team that arguably shouldn't even be playing. But he's playing because Scott Arniel thinks he's part of the best lineup this team can put out there. Shout out Scott, real brave you tonight. You really sent a message. And not only did he send a message to Hayden Fleury, he continues to send the message that we have preached against all year on a night where Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor, their puck touches were turnovers more often than not. They lose their minutes 3-0. Again, Scott Arniel, the brave soldier, the cowardly, insecure, brave soldier, shuffles up his entire lineup, but those 2.
Yep.
But those 2. And you know why this group is a bunch of cowards and why we got to wake up and smell the roses on this? After a game like that, a game where they're telling us the core, Scott Arniel, Chevy in his core probably believes it. Chipper probably believes it, that they're on this playoff run. And this is a big night. And going on the road is going to be a big stretch for them. They lose this game 6-1. And who did they send to media, Mikey? Who got to talk to the media after that embarrassment of a game from the Winnipeg Jets?
Well, of course, after a game like that, you would want your most, seasoned professional guys to go out and, really take on the brunt of it, to face the media after, letting down your fan base so heavily. So, of course, they sent out Brad Lambert and Elias Salamonson.
Yeah, they sent out the two kids, their most recent call-ups, after getting fucking smacked 6-1 in embarrassing fashion on a night where those core leaders were awful.
Yep. You're coming off of
How else do you describe this?
You're coming off the longest stretch at home. So this isn't some like, oh, you've been out on the road for, a month straight and these guys are beat and yeah, they got whacked around, but hey, how can you blame them? And no, they just came off of their longest home stretch of the year. This is, as fresh as a group as they possibly could be. They got embarrassed by the Boston Bruins, who are just a much better hockey team, period. And instead of having any type of ability to go out and own that and, actually come up and say, yeah, this is on us. No, they sent the kids out there to luckily the media was very nice to both of them. They saw who was answering the questions and didn't pile on to them. So shout out to the media asking the questions on that, because that could have been worse. But yeah, they sent the kids out there to hide behind.
Like,
it's very Blake Wheeler. That's really carried over from the Blake Wheeler days of hiding in the locker room after a bad loss.
it is absolutely shameful. I don't even care if the rookies, because you know what, to their credit, Elias Salmonson was their best player tonight.
Yes.
Elias Salmonson was their best player tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Brad Lambert showed some stuff again tonight, both on that power play.
Yep.
We've talked about Perfetti and Lowry, especially Lowry, being able to play up with someone with speed.
Yeah.
I think we saw some of that play up when we saw the lineup changes. And we'll get into all of that. But when you look at what has happened in Winnipeg, and this team goes from a President's Trophy team, has a borderline emotional breakdown announcing the Jonathan Taves signing, and their opening marketing thing this year is we're just getting started, which they hit that pretty damn quick this year. Everything we've heard about them, oh, we're going to be an accountable team. We're doing everything we can to win. And then you see Scott Arniel be an absolute coward. You know what the difference between Scott Arniel and Rick Bowness is? Rick Bowness, by the way, 17-4-2 after tonight since taking over Columbus.
Yep.
You want to know what the biggest difference between the two of them are?
What's that?
Bones was stubborn. Too stubborn, as we expect from that generation of boomers. But he was confidently stubborn. He had a great read of when to bring out the sledgehammer and when to get on guys. But he drew blood from a stone from that dressing room. You know what the difference is? Arniel's a coward and stubborn, but in an insecure fashion. And you're seeing this play out as this goes on and on. He knows he's a dead man walking, and still doesn't have the balls to do anything different on the way out.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, won't even ruffle the feathers, as, again, the writing's on the wall. He's not going to be the coach starting next season the way that things have gone on. And the fact that he still can't even be bothered to try it, right? Do it. Why not at this point? You're not playing for anything. They're already playing like bullshit in this game. It's not like, oh, they're the only thing going. It's very clear that you've been told you're not allowed to do it. What else the fuck are they going to do about it if you do it in the middle of the game? Is Chevy going to storm down from the press box? Is Chipman going to fly over on the road trip? They're not going to do it in the middle of the fucking game. Split them up then. Again, at this point, it just may also be that no one else wants to play with those two. So, they've quarantined them.
We've seen where this goes, and that's where this is frustrating. We lived this story. As an organization, you can make the same mistake once. And guess what? If you learn from your mistakes, that's how all of us as humans get better.
Yep.
I'm not always going to nail it on this show. I'm going to piss people off on this show. And guess what? There's going to be times I was wrong. For them to go through the Blake Wheeler situation and find themselves drifting further and further back into that same situation because the owner, GM, and coach of this franchise are terrified, absolutely terrified. The cowardness runs deep. Arneal fits into this whole club. I'm shitting on Scott Arneal tonight, but this runs up higher. There's a reason he was perfect for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yep.
Because he's a yes man, doing exactly what the two guys above him want him to do, and that's the only way he was going to get another job. And the two guys above him are terrified in Little Winnipeg, owning a sports franchise, to have their two golden gooses who aren't going to take them anywhere. They're terrified to piss them off even slightly by splitting them up in a hockey game. Something, if you played competitive hockey growing up at all, happens on every single team every year. This is absolutely absurd at this point, and this org is so scared of their own shadow. There is no confidence at the top of this that they let this happen, and it's going to lead there again. Again, people are going to say, oh, you're overreacting. These are your two best players. Who could they possibly play with? I was called Jets QAnon for pointing out the Wheeler stuff, knowing information on the Wheeler stuff 2 years prior. This is how sports works. You don't think it's going to rub off on other guys when you're making those switches? You're benching other guys. You're not giving other guys minutes on nights that they've earned it compared to those guys. You don't think players see through that shit? Players know, man. This is going nowhere but somewhere negatively. And it's the top of this organization that has to wake up and figure it out. Great result for the Tank, but what I watched again today just further emphasized how much of a problem the cowardness within this organization really runs. As Cole Billis says, we should hire Torts. That's who I'm all in on at this point. I want John Tortorella to come into Winnipeg and sort this shit out, because it took Bones coming out from away from the organization to come in here and shake things up. The two guys at the top of this org don't have a freaking clue what's going on.
No.
And they're involved with it daily.
Yep. And that's why we're not going to see it.
I am so done.
Yep.
We have 14 more games. I hope they lose them all. I hope it goes so badly that they have to look at themselves in the mirror and realize they are creating a huge problem in a market, as we've already seen Kyprios now going public about, and we've talked about this a little bit, where the cap's going. It's going to get harder and harder for smaller markets. At some point, someone's got to be an adult in this organization. This is freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's true. As T. Will points out, some fans are going to deny that anything is wrong until it all goes wrong, and then they'll say, no one could have seen this coming, right? We see that over and over again. The frustrating thing is right now, whether they want to admit to it or not, the Jets are already in a rebuild. Whether they want to admit to it, whether they want 100%. To actually start doing the work that's required of it, they're already in it. The window is not right now. You are in the rebuild. All you're doing now is you're delaying how long it's going to take you. Correct. When people say they don't want to be Buffalo and take 14 years and da-da-da-da-da, then you can't be stuck where the Jets are right now. They're doing that exact thing, pretending like they're not in a rebuild, delaying before they actually start the work, which is going to keep pushing this out and pushing it out. Do you like zombie movies? Do you ever watch zombie movies?
I'm a bit of a wimp when it comes to horror and that kind of stuff.
There's always a scene in every cheesy zombie movie where somebody gets bit, but they don't tell anybody, right? They try to hide it. They roll the sleeve down so nobody sees it, but they're already bit. They're already a zombie. They just, are delaying the inevitable, and it makes it so much worse when they go out and then, kill everybody else. That's what the Jets are. They're already bit. They already are the zombie. They've already lost. They're just denying it and pretending like it's not happening. And it's just going to make things worse for them in the long run.
On a night, they get 4 power plays and manage to get a whole whopping 24 shots on net tonight. 4 power plays. We want to talk about our core guys, our top guys. How bad was the power play 1 tonight? Power play 2, Gustav Nyquist, a guy that's worn a lot of shit in Winnipeg, and rightfully so, given what he's done this year. had more zone entries on the power play than the Golden 2.
Yep.
Power play 2 was actually able to establish zone time and get chances.
Yep.
That Salmonson shot in for the tip, Taves gets on the board. But we see that exact same play, the power play prior. Comes off of Brad Lambert's stick, who, again, with time and space, looks comfortable out there. Power play 1. Absolute sweet fuck all.
Yep.
They had a 4-minute double minor on a David Pasternak offensive zone penalty early on in this game. And they wrote the book on what not to do on a power play. You're talking and fronting like you're going on some run. And if you just get in, you don't know what's going to happen. You can't even run a power play over 4 minutes from your best guys. It was pathetic.
You should have known it was going to be a rough go when they got that penalty to start, and they started off with power play 2. You just knew that Scott Arniel already had the vibe from his core guys of like, fuck it, we're starting with the power play 2 today because this isn't going to be it.
As they should have too.
Yeah, it was the right call.
Play,
That's the fucked up part.
The power play with 3 players that are trying to find their way in the NHL and 2 guys that should probably be on their last year in the NHL is outscoring this elite duo that's unbreakable and untouchable in a must-win game on the road against Boston. And don't even get me started with the goaltender. Make a save. Handle a puck. Joyce's TK called it in the first period. Felt like one of those nights that Connor Hellebuck is going to cost them one.
Mm-hmm.
And we see it happen.
Yep.
These are the best players that everyone wants to push back and say, no, Nick, no, it's not possible. You have these guys. You can win with these guys. Win what? What are we trying to win? They've won 4 rounds in a decade.
Yeah.
What's this winning thing we're talking about? The same 4 guys everyone wants to still praise this year. Oh, they're way too good. If they're way too good, if you have 4 players that are way too good, I'm sorry, you're not finishing in the bottom 6 of the NHL.
Yeah.
One of the reasons everyone wanted to believe in this run, and they're not nearly this bad. Oh, they have too much talent. They're too good. They're the Winnipeg Jets, man. Look out. Look out for those Winnipeg Jets when they figure it out. We're talking about that 60 games in.
Yep.
I think that's a negative when you look at the top of the talent and the teams that they're bunched up with and deservedly bunched up with. That's not a positive on the talent pool. It's a negative that they've been this good. Or so we say.
Or so we think, yep.
Or so we think. Or so does every
So we're
national
being
guy
told.
that watches 3 games all year and decides to come into the market and tell
Again.
everybody, no, don't worry, guys. Kevy's got this.
Yeah. It's like being told 2 games ago that,
irreplaceable.
the Jets could go on a run if they make it into the Pacific side when they haven't beaten a single Pacific playoff team the entire season. They have 0 wins against that entire division, anybody in the top 5. It's hilarious and ridiculous, the dichotomy between what's actually happening, what you're seeing with your eyes, and what you're being told. The Kyle Connor thing is a great example. I had my head turned for a second right before the goal, and if I hadn't looked at the screen at all and just listened to what I was being told, I was told that Kyle Connor made an incredible pass, an absolute perfect pitch to get it out of the zone, and that it was magic that it was picked up out of the air and just was an incredible... No, it was a bad dump shovel pass that he just blindly tossed out. It was a bad pass, but we can't be told that for some reason. We have to protect those 2 no matter what. It's incredible. But again, even the playoff talk itself, right, is a mirage. The Jets will go out and they'll win a game or 2 against teams that are below them. But when it comes to competing against anybody just in the playoff line, any of the 16 teams, I took a look real quick before the game started. The Jets have wins over only 6 out of the 16 playoff teams total. 4 of those teams are in the East. 2 games, they only have 2 against the West, and though they're the recent game against the Avs where Connor Hellebuck stole that game, and 1 game against the Wild back in January. In all of 2026, they have 4 total wins against a playoff team. 4 in all of 2026. This is not.
Chip in a chair, baby.
It's a mirage, right? But that's the thing. If you're realistic about it and you're trying to get people to see that and just say, hey, this we've been harping about this for quite a long time now, that this group, as presently constructed, just isn't good enough to compete with the best teams, not only in our division, but the rest of the National Hockey League. And we were told that we're negative and that, we don't care about the team and we hate the Jets. When we're looking out for the long-term, health and benefit of the organization, they need an influx of talent. Guys get older, windows close. Yeah, Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor were great for a stretch. And, maybe with the right supporting cast at one point, you might have been able to build around them and go on a deep run. It's not right now. Last year was your best shot at it. We told you that then. We told you that was the entire window. And, here we are just a year later, and we're looking at how do we draft number one, because they're just not good enough. They need that talent if they're going to be long-term successful.
See, I need the humor of the chat. It's helping me out here as I'm clearly fired up. And as Kevin and Ghost have pointed out, I've hit an octave I haven't hit in some time. I'm waking up the dogs elsewhere. K-Rocket says, must be time for another players only meeting. That'll solve it.
I'm surprised that we haven't had Arniel locked out of the locker room yet. That's a staple of his head coaching career.
You mentioned he's not even talking to them anymore.
He told us that 2 games ago. They asked Arniel if the team's finally starting to hear his message about starting games off the right way and not letting in goals at the beginning of periods. And I believe his exact quote was, "They don't listen to me anymore. Sometimes I don't even go in the room."
Infinity comment also makes me laugh when you brought up the that was a great pass from Kyle Connor and then it goes in.
Yeah.
Infinity comment says Nick thought that pass was so good he put 1-0 Winnipeg. So when I tweeted out the updates, I did put 1-0 Winnipeg and had to edit it to 1-0 Boston. Fantastic primary assist. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Nick Spence, a man after my own heart, says moments like this make me wonder how much easier it would have been to trade Casey if we didn't extend him. Now we're stuck with him for 8 years because of his terrible contract. I will say, as much as I'm not a fan of it, and he has full control, and that's the biggest issue with it right now.
Yeah.
Though I guess anytime you sign an extension in Winnipeg, you have full control because this org doesn't
They
have
won't
any
even ask
balls
you.
to do anything.
They won't even ask
They won't
you.
even bother.
He told us that.
You got no trade movement? Don't worry about it. You're good. You don't even need that here. I do still think he's tradable because let's move through this convo because I think it's prevalent. Projections have the NHL cap at $130 million in 3 years' time. And I've been kind of talking about this for about a year and a half now. And I think you're starting to really see with the numbers that are coming out what that's going to look like. You're seeing concern. I see Kiparos mentioned there's concern in Columbus and Winnipeg about how they're going to be able to develop more revenue to support a growing cap. Looking into it today, I mean, especially after the new CBA, more teams in this league get revenue sharing than I think people realize. It's like the top 10 or 11 franchises are helping fund the rest of the league.
The other 20.
But the way this is going to shape out from a cap perspective and where I do think you could still trade Kyle Connor, you are going to see, and we haven't seen this in the league in a long time, that I think this was kind of forgotten about the cap. When the cap was first implemented, it wasn't necessarily meant for every team to be a cap team. And then we entered that COVID era where the cap ceiling was stuck and everybody was hitting it. I think you're going to see more of a tier A and tier B when it comes to spending in this league moving forward. So I do think you'll be able to trade guys like that. And there's going to be ample space coming up here where teams are going to chase talent. But I do think the way we look at roster building and cap space in teams is going to move a bit here. What do you think of that, Mikey?
Yeah, it's going to really start shaping it. It's going to take them a little bit of time, I think, to figure out how that's going to play, right? But I think you nailed it. I think it's 100% right.
Yeah, something to consider here. It's where I think they could do really good on Neil Pionk. By the way, here we go. He skated regularly today.
Yay.
I think it's safe to say Hayden Fleury probably comes out from after sitting a whole period.
I'm curious to see what they do with it, though, right? Because Fleury's the most likely candidate to come out. That makes the most sense. But you've got Pionk coming into to the right side. Does he
Yes.
take the spot beside Sandberg back? Does Salamonson stay up with Morrissey? Where do you think that all shakes out?
Okay, so my guess, based on today specifically, and this continues to be an evolving convo, but I think what you end up seeing here is Morrissey, Salmonson, Sandberg, Pionk, Bryson back to his strong side with DeMello playing third pair right D beside him. I think that's what we're going to see, especially when you see the shakeup in the third period where Salmonson plays with Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello plays with Sandberg.
You have a lot more faith in Scott Arniel than I do. I honestly could see him going back to the starting pairings essentially with Morrissey, DeMello, Sandberg, Pionk. Bryson slides back to his natural side, and Salo's playing with Bryson.
We'll see who's right here. We'll see who's right here. That's where my gut goes. On the topic of the cap there, Colin Hall says we need to learn from the Rays. I want to have a big discussion about that in the summer. I've been trying to model out ways that this org, as Al Camino says, they're going to need to be innovative. Not sure these clowns have it in them. I've been trying to model out ways where you could take some of what's worked for smaller markets in other sports where, like baseball, there is no real cap ceiling. There's the luxury tax. And the luxury tax is a lot harder on teams than I think people realize.
Yep.
But a team like Tampa, who's basically underfunded their team by what? A sixth of the rest of the division? A fifth?
Yep.
And try and remodel what that could look like in the NHL. We'll have a big discussion on that in the summer because I think it's going to be prevalent on where this org's going.
Agreed.
Do you think Morrissey, Salo, we see a bit of it today. Salo, again, I thought was the best player on the ice for the Winnipeg Jets, especially in the O-zone. Here's what's interesting. A lot of our comparisons for Salo have really talked up him being maybe the next Dylan Sandberg for the Winnipeg Jets, but on the right side as a player mold. The more I watch Salo, I actually think the offensive upside and how much – like we spent a lot of time talking last year, and Sandberg's, 5 or 6 years older than Salo is now. We spent a lot of time hoping that offensive side would develop with Dylan Sandberg, where he was jumping into plays, getting more active in the rush, in the O-zone. I actually think there's more upside in Salmonson longer term, outside just the right-handed D combo, because we're seeing that as a natural part of his ability and his skill set and his game at 21 years old here. We're in the first, 20, 25 games of his career, and he is so confident with the puck, making plays up the ice, joining the rush. I think he's going to be a 30, 40-point defenseman when some of these chances start going in. How often he's getting shots through for looks, how often he's creating odd man rushes, reading the plays up the ice. I think there might be a better version of what we've seen from Dylan Sandberg and Elias Salmonson the longer this goes on.
Yeah, we were just hoping for, a solid defenseman, just somebody who you wouldn't be, terrified of every time that they've got the puck on their stick in their own zone. The fact that he's looking so comfortable already, not only with the defensive side of the game, but getting the shots through, being able to carry the puck up as well. It's so noticeable when we're lacking that so much right now on the back end. And you're right. If given the right opportunities with the right partner, if this progression keeps up, there's an offensive player there on top of the fact that he's steady in the defensive end. You're not terrified when he's back there playing the puck, when he's playing the body. He knows exactly kind of where to be with it. He's using that intelligence, right, for the defensive side, but it comes through quite a bit as well in the offensive zone.
Yeah, over in the chat on YouTube, T. Konapali says, Salo's shoot-first mentality is very refreshing. Jet Effect Winnipeg says 100% Nick on the Salo talk. Al Camino points out, imagine if Pionk doesn't get hurt, he'd still be with the Moose. Infinity comment goes with a bold one here. Prime Carlson. Whew. Swedes. Archivist Athletica says, I think Salo has a very high ceiling as he gains confidence and experience. It could be really special. Every game that passes, he's my one thing I get to hold on to down the stretch here. And in a game as bad as it was today, I thought he was head and shoulders the best player.
I really like Colin Hull's on YouTube's comp of Andrei Markov. That's nails it. That is, as somebody who watched essentially almost every game of Markov's career, I can say that's a nice comp. I like that.
Turd Ferguson also goes with a similar to Thomas Harley.
Ooh.
Chat's fired up about Elias's development. Let's get into the From Financial Face-Off, where I see we're flirting with 60 live over on YouTube. Make sure to give us a like, subscribe. We just passed 650. It's been a great year. Thank you all that continue to support and give this show some love. Let's try and hit 70. What do we put a target of 70 or 700?
Yeah.
700 by year's end.
And the way you guys
like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, just hit that like button. That's the biggest thing you can do for us. If you're not subscribed yet, click that subscribe button, click follow. That'd be awesome. But yeah, just hit the like button on the video. It lets more people on YouTube see that we exist.
Let's get into the From Financial Face-Off. What did you think was the difference in this result? What stood out to you from the Bruins versus Jets tonight? Let's get into it.
Let's hit it.
Thanks for calling the landing strip. You're on the air. What would you like to talk about?
Right on.
We got a couple.
Oh, I was going to say,
Sorry.
phone lines are now open. 1-204-800-0409. 1-204-800-0409. Get on the line. Give us a call. Let us know you're from Financial Face-Off and anything else you want to talk about.
That's my bad, Mikey. I was a little excited because the Nashville Predators have finished it off and beat the Kraken 3-1, giving themselves a 2-game cushion on the Jets.
Hey.
They also gain a regulation win for that tiebreaker.
Let's go.
Chicago wins. We'll take both those results.
Yep.
What is your From Financial Face-Off on this night?
Oh, man. My From Financial Face-Off. Oh, yeah, you know what? So there was so much good in the game tonight. Just really hard to narrow down just one thing to focus in on to kind of give it to. So, it's been a nice trend lately for the tank, and that's the fact that the Bruins scored 4 goals within 10 feet of Connor Hellebuck. Again, I think the fact that teams are finding out that they can kind of just set up camp in the Jets area there and get second and third opportunities, and nobody's really going to do much about it. I can't remember if it was the first or the second goal where Dylan DeMello seemingly has body position, looks to be in the right place, and yet somehow still lets the player in behind him, and his DeMello stick ends up between Hellebuck's legs. It's just weird what they're doing around the net. It's either completely uninspired or just straight up confusing. So again, I'm going to go with the fact that they just can't clear the area around the net.
Yeah, that's that one where Pasternak spins off Lowry, goes back door.
Yes.
And Dylan DeMello just does not have the stick at all. He's standing there.
He's got good body position, but I have no idea what he's doing.
I don't think he knew what he was doing either, to be fair.
Yep.
Over in the chat, 0 Ghost 8's From Financial Face-Off is Sasha in the stands was the best Winnipeg Jet in the building tonight. Talk about a little moment, eh? They show some Jets fans in attendance, and Sasha Boumediene, their first rounder from last year, just casually walks by.
Hilarious.
Rihanna's From Financial Face-Off is a tie between Casey getting his chicken cooked by pasta or Helly choking on the play behind the net. And those are the two plays that put this team down 2-0. And this team was never coming back from a 2-0 deficit.
No. It's
Go for it.
Just the Connor Hellebuck playing the puck thing. It's almost become a meme at this point, just how ridiculously bad he is at it. The guy can win Vezinas, he can win Hearts, he can win gold medals, but anytime he goes to play the puck on just any routine play, just things that goalies do in the National Hockey League 1,000 times a day, every time he goes out to do it, I hold my breath because I'm like, what is he going to do now with it? It's kind of hilarious.
See, I disagree. I know it's clearly the worst thing about his talent coming up, and it's a hard night to argue against it tonight because it was not good tonight. But I think the last couple of years, he's genuinely got a lot better at it, and he's actually been a big part of their transition when they didn't have D that could move the puck. Like when we did see that Comrie stretch, a lot of dumps were just being not played. I do think he's better than we think, but he's also just not. We're stuck believing from the early days, I think.
Yeah,
And tonight stands out.
the bad moments are big enough that they stand out, much more than the regular, other day-to-day things probably. It's for some reason every time I see him go to play the puck, I hold my breath.
Some more from Financial Faceoffs. Real DFVs is the opening faceoff. Depressing moments escalated quickly after that. Yeah. Rylan Medwick's from Financial Faceoff is fragile.
It might be
Rain's
Italian.
It might be. From Financial Faceoff from Rain is oh boy. Enough said. Probably 2 words that describe this whole effort.
Yep.
Ticona Pauli's from Financial Faceoff is the Bruins owning the ice and supporting each other. Jets intimidated, missing a Bauer presence. Oh, there's Ticona pushing for the Bauer.
Yeah. You might be able to sell it to me now, Ticona. You might be able to sell it to me now.
At this point, who cares? Bring him up. I don't care. Gilbert Marion says, never thought I'd say it, but Helly has the tank commander tag. From Financial Faceoff from Brett Yu, Manitoba homeboys on the opponents making the Jets look like fools. Been a common trend this year.
Yeah.
The Manitobans have gotten up.
Feasting against the Jets.
The Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Colin Halls from Financial Faceoff is, I just want to shout out the Swedish scout who's found Salo and hopefully soon to be Alfred Frey, who signed. We'll get into that in a second here. For me, from Financial Faceoff, and it's going to sound like the easy way out probably, but you heard my thoughts on a lot of the individuals on this night. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to say execution and physical presence. Between missed passes, lazy passes, board battles. I had someone reach out to me today, and it was hard to argue. And when you look at this, Cole Perfetti is, 5'11", and he's one of the team's better board battlers, and that comes out on a night like tonight. Like, that shouldn't be reality. I thought this was a game where execution and physical play was lacking, and where Boston was able to really control this game here. Rob Mahoney says, I think Helly's puck handling is night and day better. I just wish he focused on side-to-side movement and shots up high. But whatevs. Best goalie in the history of the planet. Al Caminos from Financial Faceoff was the amount of unearned opportunity in this coaching staff and front office. Chevy, Zinger, Jimmy Roy, Mike Keane, Arneal, Mark Morrison, the list goes on. Bring us a home cleaning. Bring us one. Dutch Hockey says, hey, would you guys be the only show that has the balls to talk about the number one line, all -3 again? Other shows never talk about them. And the same as the rent. Hey, if you want a show where you hear those guys get lit up, stick around. Nik Lynam is not a fan of the Winnipeg Jets top line and has no problem to letting you guys know. So I appreciate you noticing some of the nuance. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Those are the guys getting paid $20.5 million next year. It's a joke. Top of your franchise.
Yep.
Let's talk about Alphon Frey, and then we're going to get into Cole Billius' question, as I've started diving more and more into the draft here. And I have a bit of a tier list, I think, where I'm at so far. Now, a lot of it's coming from looking at data, reading different scouting reports, picking out things that I think translate. I've started watching a bit more video, so I don't know if I'm your best eye test guy at this moment. But we'll get into some of the prospects. But let's get into Alphon Frey. Signs with the org, comes over from Sweden. He is joining the Moose. Him and Sasha Boumedian, I thought really stood out on that World Junior Championship Sweden team on the back end. He's jumping in to the AHL for their push this year. What'd you think of seeing Alphon Frey signing with the Jets and heading down to finish the year with the Manitoba Moose?
Yeah, real excited to have him come over and start getting games here in North America. This is a guy that we've been keeping our eye on, right? Got real excited about how he looked at the World Juniors. There hopefully is a path for him to a spot on the Jets sooner rather than later, because they're going to start needing to replace some of those bodies. His game looked real good at the juniors. It's looked real good to finish off his season, and yeah, I'm excited to see what he looks like playing with the Manitoba Moose.
I guess my running joke right now is We got the Swedish Heinola
Yep.
down on the Moose. I do think he's a player. I'm excited to see how he transitions over to North America. He's not the player I trust this org with, developmental-wise. But I do think there's a player there to get excited. I'm going to go down to some Moose games down the stretch here, get some eyeballs on him. But anytime you could sign a prospect and bring him over from overseas and get him in your system where you have a bit more control, especially one that, as we did talk about, really did shine, I thought, in the World Juniors, especially on the power play. Let's see where it goes. I just don't trust. He's the player type I don't necessarily trust the Jets with in development. I think that might be our next Heinola situation.
Yep, it very well could go down that road. They don't do well with undersized European defensemen, so we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Unfortunately, he's not 6'7", so he's not going to get a decade, to develop. But we'll see how maybe he can force their hand. Before we go on, John Michaels over on Facebook hops in, says tank, and wants to know what jersey you're wearing right now.
Hey, we'll show it off again. Chase Gurniak in the community made sure to get your tank commander a tank-approved jersey. Let's show it off here.
There you go, John.
That's going to be the Jets' third jersey next season.
That's right. They're going
to
wear
have
that
to remodel the
heritage
logo a little bit here. Okay, so do have a bit of a tiers list, and I'll kind of walk you through it here on the prospects from this draft. Here's where I'm at today. And what I find so interesting about the D, and it might be playing into my thoughts on the D atop the draft, because I haven't gotten my eyes on them quite yet, but this is how I'm looking at it. I think McKenna's safely number one. Then I have a bit of a tier right below them, and I'm going to call it the Stenberg, Bjork, Malhotra tier. And that might surprise some people. I think Stenberg's the pick, but I'm not so... Okay, so I guess here's where I'm a little different. I know BPA is like the thing everyone latches onto, and I buy it. But I also do think when you look at the business that we're talking about, and I think, and it's a totally different sport, but I think the NFL does this well. Now, development's way different in hockey, so it's not a perfect comparison. But I do think when you look at how these assets develop into assets in the pro leagues, centers and right-handed D naturally have more value, even if they don't hit those ceilings. So I wouldn't mind taking a shot at Malhotra, who I think is the best center in this draft, or as we talked about last show, Vigio Bork, and what he's doing in Sweden. And I watched game one. I went and watched shift by shift. Man, it made me like him even more, despite the size. And he's the wild card of this whole draft, I think, because what he's doing in that league is something else. The details in his game were fantastic. His puck touches were fantastic. Not the fleetest of foot as far as he's not a plus skater, but I think he moves around well enough in that league that I'm not necessarily as concerned about it. So I would go, McKenna. And I think Stenberg as a winger is very projectable that I feel safe taking him over one of the centers. Yeah. But that's just kind of how I'm tiering this right now. After that, I think you're looking at Chase Reed, the right-handed D. After watching him in the Olympics and the World Jays, I just think Smits is going to be such a regular that I think he's going in that top 5. And I haven't watched enough of Verhoff or Carroll's to comment, but they would kind of round out that list. That's where I'm at in the top 6 of this draft, based on what I've been digging into. I value forwards more than D at the top of the draft because, but here's where the darts come, because if you land that number 1 D at the top of the draft, that's such a feature to your franchise.
Yep. I
just think there's a lot more, what's the word? I guess risk when it comes to drafting a defenseman high compared to a forward.
Yeah.
That's where my tier list is right now for top 6 here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Big claim, Malhotra, best center in the draft. That's when you slipped in there. I want to make sure we come back around to. That's a big claim. I like that a lot. That's one to keep an eye on. if you had to choose just between the D that are available there, say that, most of those forwards go and we're in a spot where you're pretty much looking at that group of D, who's the one that you would say, fuck it, we're going, this is the route we're going to take?
If I'm shooting on a D,
Yep.
I'm shooting all the way for upside.
Yep.
All the way for upside. And I'm going Chase Reed.
There you go. I like that. More than Smits, eh?
I think Smits is a safer pick. I think Reed's like the home run swing.
Yeah.
And at the draft, I like going for home run swings.
Agreed.
I like going for home run swings.
I don't like trading up for projects. That's not something I would generally recommend in the first round. Just, no reason. Smoking cigs inside. I've both one agree and two disagree with you. The agree is that Bjork would be pushed to the wing so damn quickly by this org.
And we talked about that.
We talked about that, and I agree. I think that they would be they tend to do that. And then the thing about undersized Euro D-men being disingenuous, because we had Enstrom for a long time, he was already an NHL player when he came to Winnipeg. That was not the Jets doing any type of development with him. We've seen over and over again they don't know how to develop those type of players. So Toby was the diamond in the rough. He was the exception, not the rule. He was incredible, and I miss him every day.
Some thoughts in the chat on the prospect talk. Al Camino says, I think the days of BPA are over. Centers and right-handed D are priority now. If you're left with a winger outside the top 10, you're trading down. Rain's order is McKenna, Stenberg, Reed, Malholtra, Bjork, Keaton, Verhoff for him. Ticona says, if you're picking higher than Van and Stenberg's there, you have to deal him to Van for their two first. Don't think that they would sacrifice the pick for next year, in which Rob Mahoney says, take the best player available, even if it's a winger. We'll get our 1C in the 27 draft with the first overall pick. If the Winnipeg Jets are drafting number 1 overall in 2027, they're getting their franchise defenseman. They're getting their Norris caliber franchise defenseman at the top of the 2027 class in a kid named Landon Dupont.
Woo-hoo.
You wanna if you think this thing's gonna be in trouble next year, gander over to YouTube, gander over to your favorite stats pages, and go check out what Landon Dupont has done ever since he's been an exceptional status player in the WHL. I believe he's the only D-man that's ever gone it, and what he's done to that league is absurd every year since. The top of next year's draft, I can't see anyone passing Landon Dupont and that number 1 right-handed D.
Yeah, totally agree. That's if you're deciding that you want to go out and get that number 1 defenseman, that's the year to do it. Next year is the off season to start loading up on picks and prospects that you can then flip at the draft coming up to get as far into that one as you can.
Smoke Sigs inside with a valid concern on Smith says, Smith scares me, man. The skating is average at best.
Very fair. Yep.
I think that's a fair critique of Smith's. I just think what we saw him and how he handled, I was just so impressed with how he handled that USA team that I do think he's someone that knows how to use the size and abilities within the game that'll transition. Some more thoughts over in the chat on the draft. Cole Billis says, I'm buddies with Carroll's, and God, I hope he doesn't come here to get screwed over. A lot of hype for him. I saw Craig Budden on WST had him as his number 2 pick this draft, and I've gotten a lot more hype on Carroll's. I just haven't gone to watch him enough to have like a hard enough take where I'm going to tell you guys I would take him top 5 right now. Yeah,
that surprised me how high that he was ranked there. So that's also one I want to go back and take a look at now.
And as Cole Billis says, just don't think we need a lefty. We already got a bunch on that side, and that's another part of this defensive picture. You have the Morrissey Sandberg. Currently, you just spent a first and a second in the last 2 drafts on Boumediene and Frage, and Boumediene should get a nice role. He was playing behind Cole Hudson. Yeah, I imagine he goes back to college next year for 1 more year and is their number 1. So a good situation for Sasha Boumediene to be in.
Yep, absolutely. And you know what's frustrating? I just wish that like say you do have to draft somebody on the left side because somebody fell right into your lap, right? You get this amazing thing happens to you and you get a great player who just falls into your lap. It sucks that you're not allowed to trade other guys or do any other move. You just have to put him 4 or 5 rungs below and make him wait 7-8 years to crack the lineup. It sucks, that you're not allowed to waive guys or trade anybody and you have to sign a 35 to 40-year-old in the off season. I wish that wasn't the case, but we have no choice.
Ryland Medwick has Bjork ahead of Malhotra, and I could buy it. I could buy it. I'm just the size thing does worry me.
Yep.
If he hits that growth spurt, I think Vigio is going to be the best center in this draft. That is just the uncertain thing around him for me, and knowing how this org would then see him as a winger. That is just the one piece of the Bjork thing at this point for me.
Yep.
Because watching him and watching the shift by shift from that first playoff game, oh my gosh, I'm a fan. Rob Mahoney and Norm make me laugh as Rob Mahoney goes, with Chevy as our GM, I have 100% faith in first overall in 2027. In Chevy, we trust. Which I think that reads off as a shot. But Norm, I think, read it quick and says, faith in Chevy? Fuck my life. To rebuttal the concerns with Smits, Colin Hall thinks Smits has such a damn good stick, man. He's the next Slavin.
Ooh.
And Rain also is very high on Smits as well. The D this year, the 4D that are going to go in the top 8 have such dramatically different takes depending on who you read and trust in the scouting sphere. It is fascinating. It's one of those drafts that's shaping up. I think McKenna goes 1. Well, I'm pretty certain McKenna goes 1. I imagine Stenberg goes 2, unless like a San Jose wins the draft, and I think they go shooting for their D-man, given what they have. I'm fascinated to see how the D shake out. I haven't seen 4 guys rank so differently as much as I've seen with this group.
Say San Jose wants to move back in the draft. Say they end up with the number 2 pick, but they don't want to pick there because they want one of the D-men. They don't want Stenberg, but they know that, he's going to be highly coveted. They come to Winnipeg, who has the number 7 pick, say, in that draft. Are you willing to make a deal to try to move up to 2 to get a Stenberg, or are you comfortable enough down at 7 to take a shot?
At that part of the draft, I'd be willing to. I just don't know what the cost would be. And
The
I'm not
cost
sure
would be
who's
high.
the
I don't
first to
have.
get
Yeah,
up there.
the cost would be high. I don't know if we have the things to even make that work. But just in a world where they come to you, what is there? Yeah, do you think there's enough of a jump there to warrant to go up?
I would.
Excellent.
I would. Brett, you with another good point. And I think this is important when we're looking at what the Jets need. Though to Bjork's credit, transition's a skill. Says, I genuinely lean toward better skaters, but then again, Fleury is a top-notch skater and a very bad player. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It's not everything, but it's an indicator.
Here's a question for the chat. I like this from Jets Empire. I want to hear what. Or let's go to Smoke Sigs Inside, because Smoke Sigs Inside is along the same lines of what you just mentioned. Then we're gonna go to Jets Empire's question. What if San Jose won number 2 and came to you and said number 2 for 37? I'd do it so fast.
Ooh.
So fast.
Woo-hoo.
Do you?
Oh, straight
But
up.
I agree with Scarborough saying that they don't trade and they go get their D.
Straight up 2 for 2 and 37.
For just 37, number 2 overall for Connor Hellebuck.
Like 1 for 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
I
I'm
would
doing
do
it.
it too,
I'm
but
doing it, and then the rebuild is now, and then you are going to try to find try to get to Landon DuPont at the end of next season, because
Well,
then
you're
all of a
starting to rebuild
sudden,
with 2 top 6s.
exactly, all of a sudden you have supercharged your rebuild with a couple of guys who are absolutely going to be ready to go sooner.
Yeah, I don't think San Jose does it with Askarov, but who knows?
Yeah.
I do think
Oh.
San Jose is a team to watch, and we saw their coach get really wound up about how he was switching the lines, just trying to find a line mate for Salbrini.
Yep.
I think when you get a superstar like Salbrini, it ups the pressure to start competing. I do think San Jose is going to be an interesting team to watch this year, but yeah, they don't need a goalie. Where they really need
Yes.
is where Colin
Hall.
asks and says number 2 for JMO. I do it so fast.
Oh, again, goddamn, that hurts. But yeah, you do it, and then you trade Hellebuck to Florida, and you start that. Again, you just, if one of those deals comes to you, you take it and you start
So
that
fast.
now. You make it now because again,
fast.
blow it up now. Get that number 2 pick this year. Try to get Landon DuPont the year after, and all of a sudden, man, the future is fucking bright.
I do either of those so fast
In a
the
heartbeat.
certain spot. Which brings me to Jets Empire's question. I'm curious what people think of this one. I've been flirting with this in my head this year more than I'd like to say. It says, Nick, not including the garbage thrashers, would you say this is the worst team in franchise history 2.0? So not including that first year team. Is this the worst iteration of Winnipeg Jets 2.0.
Like, so we're saying not the season that they returned. We're not counting 2011, 2012, like that one.
Yeah, that was terrible.
That because like I can name off some pretty fringe hockey players that were playing on the roster throughout that season. So that one probably still worse in terms of overall talent. But like, yeah, outside of that, again though, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say probably in those first 2 to 3 seasons under the Claude Noel years. There was some. They were really bad rosters, like real bad. So I'd say those are still worse, even if this Jets team ends up finishing with a worse record. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'd still say those were worse lineups than this one.
So I guess here's where I've arrived at it. As I see Scarborough says, there's no way they're as bad as year 1 to 3 Jets 2.0. Infinity Comet also puts the Dave Lowry Jets into that.
Yep.
Mix in which they had Carson fucking Kuhlman playing top line. Yeah, I wouldn't have them as the worst team. I think they are far and away the most disappointing, biggest failure, biggest group of cowards
biggest
that
letdown,
we've had.
for sure.
Biggest letdown by a mile, but still from a business side of the sport, they still are in the shape to do things to change the direction of this core or this franchise that I don't think were available to them at various parts of the franchise history, but easily the biggest group of cowards, easily the most disappointed, easily the biggest group of losers group. Because at least those other teams knew they were bad and they'd try hard.
Yep.
That's where I fall on this one.
100% agree.
And Jets Empire says most disappointing sounds more accurate.
Yep.
And Cole Billis says it's because they had such high expectations.
Yeah.
Farm Lane also says 2011 to 16 were not as bad, but at least they tried and were exciting. I think we're all on the same page.
Yep.
Do you want to get in? Is there 3 stars tonight? Let's do a sassy 3 stars. I'm in for some sassy 3 stars.
All right. Let's hit it.
3 stars, who you got?
Right on. Oh, some of the names coming up, absolutely. Archivist Athletica. Can't forget the shootout legend, Mike Santorelli.
There's a blast from the past.
Right?
I enjoy those episodes when we start diving into some of those names.
Oh, it's so good.
As Smoke Six Inside says, dog, we had James Wright chumming it up in 13-14. This is paradise compared to that.
Kendall McCardle, Anthony Stewart, Ben Maxwell. We had some beauties. Yeah.
Mikey, who are your 3 stars after that 6-1 trouncing to the Boston Bruins?
Oh man, again, so many ways you could go, so many different people deserving of absolute attention and the spotlight after such a wonderful game. But for my 3rd star, I think I'm going to go with you know what I'm going to go with? I'm going to go with the anthems, just in general during this game. That was one of the few times where you didn't actually hear anybody scream True North and then clap for themselves. So that was really cool. I enjoyed not hearing that in the Boston Arena today. I guess Jets fans are a little embarrassed to travel and go to away games, so that's dope. For the 2nd star, since we're reminiscing about, Winnipeg Jet greats from the 2.0 era, 2nd star goes to Blake Wheeler for instilling such a long-lasting legacy and culture in the locker room of being just a fucking coward, being a prima donna, whiny little bitch. So I'm going to shout it out to Blake. Your spirit lives on forever, R.I.P. And number 1 star, Nick Lynham for both whooping Cancer's ass and whooping the Jets' ass tonight because fucking Scott O'Neill didn't do it. Nobody else was planning on doing it. So shout out to you. Number 1 star, baby.
Hey, I'll take that one. I appreciate that. Over in the chat, we got Palmer Lane's 3 stars are the top line, combining for a -9. Rihanna's 3 stars, JT for trying, Sallow, and Sallow. Colin Hall's 3 stars are 1 Sallow, 2 the -9 top line, and 3 I like Fraser Minton's game. Leafs, Brandon Carlo for a top 8 pick. and Fraser Minton is going to go down as potentially worse than that Tuukka deal that they decided to make.
Pretty impressive.
Ryland Medwick's 3 stars. First star Helly, second star KC, third star Scheif, LOL Psych. 0 goes to 8s. First star is Salo, second star is Lambo, third star is Sasha. Infinity comments. First star is Jonathan Asperot, who snipes Connor Hellebuck from the slot for his 3rd goal of the season.
Yep.
Hanel look good, and the anthem singer. Ticona Polly's was Salo, Lambo, and Pasta. Reigns was Salo, Jazz Lucius, and Sasha. Rihanna also wants to give a bonus star to Pasta for embarrassing Casey and Jazz Lucius for living rent-free in Chevy's head to solve all their problems.
Do you think Chevy wakes up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night sometimes just screaming, Chaz Lucius?
Do you think Scott O'Neill's going to wake up in a cold sweat for swapping up all the lines today?
No. I guarantee you, how much does anybody want to take a bet that the lines are exactly the same as what they started today's game with
100%.
for the afternoon games? You know that shit's coming. Arneal, even in the post game today, there was no, this is embarrassing. What are we doing? We didn't. He didn't give a shit. He didn't care. He's like, yeah, we didn't execute. We didn't have a lot of compete. I don't know. He just kind of he doesn't care. He's so fucking just bored of this.
Jets Empire says 1 Nick, 2 Salo, 3 Jazz Lucius's legacies impact. And over on Twitch, we got 2 from Choices TK. Trapezoid Helly is the star of the game. And Smoke Sigs inside is first star Sasha for sucking down that glizzy. He looked pretty good, can't lie. 3 stars tonight. Holy shit. I'm going to go Hayden Fleury. Being so bad for the tank that Scott Arneal decided to be a tough guy and show that he can bench players.
Yep.
My hero. What a soldier. What a soldier Scott Arneal is. Number 2, I'm going to go Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor, because the power of friendship and this unbreakable duo in a playoff run shits all over the ice, loses their minutes 3-0, and still has the sparkle of the eye of the entire organization where they cannot spend a single shift apart from each other. That is the type of love and lust we're all chasing here, folks.
Yeah.
They've found it in each other. You got to respect it.
Do you think Scheifele demands a statue with Connor when he gets his statue eventually? Right? Casey's got to get one with him, right?
They're going to have a goal at some time where Kyle Connor jumps up and hugs Scheifele, and Scheifele's going to be holding him against the glass. That's going to be the statue.
And
that's how we're going to remember that statue.
I will always love. Sorry.
That's what they're going to be playing when they pull down the blanket that's covering it. And number 1, the decision makers of the Winnipeg Jets, for being so stubborn, for being so in their own way, that we get to watch this absolute train wreck, and we join together, hoping for losses so that we get a lottery pick out of this. That tells you everything you need to know about the decision makers top down that continue putting this slop on the ice, continue to do the same things every single day, continue to actually try and sell you the fact that, hey, if this team gets in, we're going places. And, hey, this is just a blip. Next year, we're back to going places. The top of the Jets org on a great night for the tank will be the number 1 star. And we see it in their figurehead, Scott Arneal, tonight, for being the coward, front-facing man that this org wants him to be. That's who's getting my 3 stars tonight. We appreciate you. Victoria says, voice of an angel. There you go, Mike. You might have a second career coming here.
Thank you.
And as Rain says, on the way out, smash the like, y'all. Show the boys some love.
Should we
Helps
hit
with
a
the algorithms?
tankathon?
Oh, yeah, we got to do a tankathon after a night like this.
Right.
Sorry about that.
All right, let's see what we got. Let's hit it in 3, 2, 1. Hey, look at that. Your Winnipeg Jets move up 4 spots to number 2, right behind the Vancouver Canucks. We've had a few wins the last little while here.
This is 4 or 5 straight.
Yep. Number 2, welcome to Winnipeg, or Sweetapeg, I guess.
Who are you going to?
Oh, it's Stenberg. Stenberg all day. Unless Vancouver does something crazy and they take Stenberg over McKenna, it's got to be
That's a
Stenberg,
talk over there.
right? So you never know. They could end up going that way.
I want a center.
You want it so bad.
I want a center. It's a tough spot for me. But that's 4 wins in a row. Let's go. That's something to celebrate. As Don Dawson wants to bring the vibes down, says, sadly, Chevy will trade our first round pick in 26 and 27 for a player that they think will fit the car. Another Tankathon win. As Rihanna says, Swede dreams, everyone. Let's build Swedepeg, one Swede at a time. We'll see ya. What is it now? Is it going to be Saturday
afternoon. Yep. First of 2 back-to-back.
A noon start.
Yes.
We'll see you early Saturday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We appreciate the love and support, and we'll be back to talk Winnipeg Jets hockey Saturday afternoon. We'll see you then.
Right on. Good night, everybody.